evening, everyone, and we apologize for the delay, just a few technical issues. So I would like to call this regular meeting to order at 6:57 p.m., and we will start with the Pledge of Allegiance led by Commissioner Herrera. Thank you, Commissioner Herrera. Adrian, would you please call the roll?
Yes. Commissioner Borja?
Here.
Commissioner Branhag? Commissioner Fitzsimmons?
Here.
Commissioner Herrera?
Present.
Commissioner Khan?
Present.
Vice Chair Godo?
Here.
Chair Jennings Nunez?
Here. Thank you. We will now have some announcements from our staff liaison, Matthew Morales-Stevens.
Tonight's meeting is live streamed on Cable Channel 3 and our online platforms. If you wish to address the HEAR Commission during tonight's meeting, we request that you please complete a speaker's card and hand it to the clerk, Adrian Franquez. When speaking, please state your name for the record. If you wish to be added to the distribution list to receive HEAR Commission agendas, please email your request to hearcommission@sgch.org.
Thank you. So we'll go to agenda item number 1, which is approval of our agenda order. Are there any objections to the agenda order? Thank you. So hearing none, the agenda order is approved. Next, we will go to public comment. This is the time set aside for members of the public to address the HEAR Commission on items of interest that are not on the agenda, but are within the subject matter jurisdiction of the HEAR Commission. Pursuant to the Brown Act, the HEAR Commission cannot answer any questions or take any action until such time as the matter may appear as an item on a future agenda. If you wish to address the HEAR Commission, please fill out a speaker's card and hand it to the clerk. Matthew, do we have any public comments?
We do not.
Thank you. So we'll go on to approval of minutes, and I don't think we have any public comments on this item either. So is there a motion to approve the minutes from September 27th?
I actually had a few minor edits that were just grammatical that I already provided to Adrian. So, but it was not related to content. So I can make a motion with those amendments to approve the minutes.
I second.
Thank you.
And just to clarify, it's for October 25th. That was the staff error.
I'm sorry, for October 27th. So we're approving minutes for our last meeting for October 27th. And Adrian, if you could please take the vote.
Commissioner Borja?
Aye.
Commissioner Fitzsimmons?
Aye.
Commissioner Herrera?
Aye.
Commissioner Khan?
Aye.
Vice Chair Godo?
Aye.
Chair Jennings Nunez?
Aye.
Motion passed by a vote of 6 ayes, 0 nays, 0 abstentions, and 1 absent.
Excellent. So we will move on to our first discussion item, and we are very excited about this discussion item. This is going to be a review of the currently still our draft Native American Heritage Month video. So as we commissioners are all aware, as most people are aware, this is Native American Heritage Month. And this video that we are going to present tonight is a culmination of kind of our 2021, one of the tasks from our 2021 work plan under the heading of community engagement. So in July of 2021, Commissioner Khan and myself worked with Matthew to coordinate the interviews that you're going to see tonight. And I want to give Matthew just an opportunity because I don't know all of the names of the staff members that were that participated in making this happen. So I want to give Matthew a moment to just acknowledge those people.
Thank you. So unfortunately, the staff have moved on to bigger and better things and are no longer with us. But Kristen and Victoria Villalobos were our senior rec leaders who helped us with the project. They did all of the filming, the audio recording, as well as piecing all of the video together. And they did it all from an iPhone, which was, I think, pretty amazing. When you look at the quality, you wouldn't think that it's from an iPhone. They put a lot of thought into it and went through a multitude of drafts to be sure that it was as accurate as possible, and took a lot of patience to make sure that everyone's opinion or need or change was met through the process. It was a pleasure working with them, and I know they're on to fantastic opportunities as they're pursuing their master's degree right now.
So this is a partnership, our HERE Commission and partnership with our local tribal leaders. We developed this video in honor of Native American Heritage Month. It has not yet been finalized. It is pending kind of final review and approval. Matthew, do we have any public discussion item?
We do not.
So with that introduction, I invite you to sit back and enjoy this, I think, about 10-minute video.
Hello, I am Dr. Chastity Jennings Nunez, a San Gabriel resident and the chair of the Human Equity, Access, and Relations Commission. The HERE Commission was formed in October 2020 as an advisory board to the City Council. Our purpose is to advance and advocate for equity, access, diversity, and social justice by promoting safety, mutual appreciation, increased cultural competence, positive intergroup relations, and respect for all members of the San Gabriel community. The legacy and ongoing contributions of the indigenous people of the San Gabriel Valley should be acknowledged and celebrated by all residents, and as one of our first actions, the HERE Commission recommended the city recognize Native American Heritage Month. I welcome you to this virtual celebration that is the first ever official City of San Gabriel recognition of Native American Heritage Month 2021.
From the plants to the fish, everything was here that you needed to supply your people, to feed your kids. That's why our people, the Native Indians, this is why we're everything that the Creator has given us here on earth is so sacred. We respect everything. No matter what anybody says, we are very much alive.
People like to say my territory was. I don't say was. It still is our territory. No matter what the political climate is, no matter where we live, no matter how developed it is, it's still our territory. It's still our ancestral land. Well, for me, it's an honor because for the longest, there's never been any acknowledgement. I feel that we've accomplished something because it was never like this before in the past. So it is an honor that everybody's finally noticing or acknowledging that Native Americans, the first inhabitants of this region, are still here. It's time to be heard. It's time to be visible. And it's time to correct the wrongs. It really is. It really is. That's what I'm hopeful for.
It's almost like it's a time of joy. It's happy that we're being exposed finally. Our history is finally coming out. It means a lot to us, you know. And when I say us, I mean even those and struggled through life to have us where we are today. They're not here with us today, but this is something that they wanted to happen.
Native Americans all over the country are the least heard, and I just don't want money. I think it should be ongoing forever. Everybody walk on ancestral land daily. Your daily activities, your life, everything is centered on our ancestral land. So I think it's something that we should be aware of, conscious of, respectful and mindful that, not just once a month, do it forever, because we are the original inhabitants of our ancestral land where everybody lives and, like I said, conducts all their daily activities. So I'm hopeful that everybody would go just beyond that 1 month.
I would like to see, because we come from a line of a people, of community. The old dances that we used to have here for the senior citizens, the elders, I would just like to have where the city helps, we help the city help us to revive that community again. That's important to us. So I would like to see that more community effort, more people involved in our culture, so we could understand their culture. You know what I mean? So that, if that makes sense.
First of all, everybody should be acquainted with the history of such a beautiful historical city. Try to know the different eras of time, well, from the Native Americans, the mission system, and then when all the European and the ranchos. This city here is rich with history. Like, for instance, right here in this little section here, like little what is it called? Little gazebos were informational, little, where you could use now your iPhone and you stop there and you learn about the mission, the grapevine there, where you could stop there and talk or get a little information of history about the little grapevine establishment that's there. Because if you guys know the history of Helen Hunt Jackson, that's where she stood. She's the one that wrote the Ramona. She stayed there, and that's just right where the grapevine's at. People could stop there. There's no plaque that really tells you any information about that part of that history. Where the play, the Ramona, was created. It was created right there. That information's not told. Nobody knows about that information. And when you provide that information, people start to understand the community that they're living in. It's important. San Gabriel is a very important historical city, and people sometimes, a lot of people forget about that, but everything started here. Remember, this was the opening gates of Los Angeles, so everything started here, and we need to share that history with everybody so they know where they're at. Aside from just knowing our part of our history, I think it should be encompassed by everybody knowing all the other parts of the history that went on with the city of San Gabriel. The different time eras is something that I think it should be really studied and learned and by our residents here in San Gabriel. Our storytelling, because that's what our history is based on, the oral history. The oral history that I could share with you in the city is history that I learned off of the elders who were telling those stories. So for me and what I have, and what some of our tribal members and elders that are still alive have, we're able to share that storytelling with the community to help guide you in understanding the community or the city of San Diego. When we used to have the parades here when we were young, and I was I'm talking back in the early 70s, when I was a kid, I would be in the parades here with my cousins and my family. We after the parades, we'd have our dances, our barbecues, and just the regalias,
the community, not only with the native, I'm talking about with everybody. Remember, we come from a community here that has the native, the Spanish, the Mexican, and the American. Today we have other cultures here, and our history, and our culture, our dancing, especially our dancing, because we love to dance. We love to dance even today, but our traditional dancing, our traditional songs, and our traditional stories, they're very important to us. They're very, and we're working our best now to revive all that because it's important. We want to be able to share it with everybody else, like I mentioned. See, when I always say everybody else, because it's not just us. We're a community here. We've always been a community. You know, my grandfathers who were here, they weren't the native side, but they were the founders of what they called here La Funeraria, which was called the funeral. It was the time of hardship where people couldn't pay for funerals or anything, and it included the community. Everybody would come and pay grandpa, give him $1, give him 60 cents or whatever, and that money would build to help that next person for funeral or for their family or whatever was needed, you know, for that particular, it was community. And a lot of our dancing, ceremonies and what have you, have to do a lot with that, you know?
Good question. Every time I go out with my tribe and we go and do workshops or lectures or whatever, I always say a story, and I want to say it right here. And the story goes this way. The chief, he gathered all the people from the village, and he says, we need to do something about our culture, our history. We need to do something about it so that it will never become extinct or forgotten. What do we do? How do we continue it? How do we preserve it so we will never lose it ever, ever? So they were raising their hands. Oh, I know what to do, chief. I know what. He said, well, what? Well, let's hide it. Well, hide it. Hide it where? Well, let's hide it in the rocks. Let's hide it under the trees. Let's hide it in the riverbeds. And finally, this elder lady, real fragile, shaky, chief, I know where to hide it. I know where. And he goes, where? She goes, let's hide it in the children. And that is so true, because it's the children that are going to continue the culture long after I leave this earth. And it's important that not only our children, but even you young people, it's important that you learn your stories, your family ceremonies, your celebrations, the foods that you eat during holidays or whatever, because you are the ones that are going to continue the culture for your families once they all take their final resting place, like I will one of these days. And this is why it's important that history, that culture continue, so that it will never become extinct or forgotten.
Tomorrow, we are only here 2 short winters, meaning you don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. So we're here. Keep this history, preserve it. San Gabriel is the archives of California history here in the Los Angeles Basin. It's important that San Gabriel, we share this history with them so they can share it with all of you.
Well, I want to leave off with this. Wa'at guwatatayi hanuka, in the memory of my ancestors. Because they're no longer here. We are their voice. We're their voice. The present day descendants, we're the voice. Our ancestors, she compared them, they're like butterflies. Butterflies, they just fly, no voice. So our ancestors are butterflies.
Thank you, Matthew. So, so it was over a year since Commissioner Khan and I were able to meet and be a part of these interviews with Chief Morales and with Chairperson Salas. And so I just want to give Commissioner Khan a moment to share his thoughts.
It's emotional, and I feel so close to, I mean, the presentation and the way that the girls took the video and the way they brought this all together, it just looks like it's happening now. And I'm just awed at the way the presentation and also the passion which these chiefs have spoken.
Thank you. So if anyone would like to make any comments?
Do we have an information center here that people can come, the tourism come, and they give them information on like the Ramona? I don't think too many people know that the Ramona play was written right here in this city. Do we have that available?
As far as like a tourism center for our city, like through the city, we don't have anything, but we do have. We work closely with the local museums, so like the Ramona Museum, and granted they're not open as often, but that could be something that is implemented. I know that was part of the work plan was to work in partnership with those to do some installations, so that could be something that the Year Commission works with the city on.
'Cause that is truly sad. This is a lot of history.
But that's definitely something we can implement, since it was part of the work plan especially.
Now, how about at the schools? Do they teach anything at the schools about the Native Indians?
That I don't know. I can't speak on behalf of the school district.
So yes, I don't know that at the elementary level. However, this year there is an ethnic studies committee that is going on because they're going to bring in some ethnic studies. So I'm sure that that's going to be a part of the curriculum across the board, which I think is necessary.
Absolutely, because as they were saying, the children. Otherwise, it's lost.
If we were to do something which will last for a longer time, I think combination with, if there are Indian children in the community as well as the families living here, we can coordinate something with them and then kind of create a small place where people can come and learn. And maybe as Commissioner Fitzsimmons said, that we can probably create some flyers, brochures, and maybe we can have a dance session in a year, once a year or so. That could be part of our program.
Commissioner Herrera.
Oh, I'm just trying to take all this information in. I mean, it's great. The history here in San Gabriel, it's completely rich, and I want to commend our Chair Nunez and then Commissioner Khan for taking on this challenge. I think it's really important for us to showcase our history and not forget our history. And so many times we're walking around and we don't know that. Well, we probably, at least sitting here, we know that this is basically the first settlement in this area, and that like it was said in the video, Los Angeles came. The little city of Los Angeles originated from San Gabriel, and we should have more displays of the native and about our history here. And like he said, he had a really great idea with you scan something and it gives you like an audio similar to a live museum, right? I think our city needs to take on this task, and I know it takes a lot of money and a lot of planning and all that, but this is a start, and I want to commend you for taking on Chair Nunez for taking on this task. I know you've been really an advocate for this topic, and I've seen you in many meetings taking on this topic, and it's not an easy topic to take on, but it's a much needed topic to take on, and I just commend you and also Commissioner Khan for taking on this. It's the first, a first step to many to be taken, so good job.
Can I add too? So one of the teachers brought it to my attention that South Pasadena, one of the student, they wrote about recognizing the Tonga Gabrielino Native American Heritage Month. And it's very interesting because in this, the staff writer wrote that they follow Mother Nature's 10 rules to live by, and stating that everything is sacred, all things are alive. Respect your elders, listen and learn. What you do will always come back to you, good or bad. Always give before you take. Only for survival would we take an animal's life. The earth is our mother, don't harm her. Remember who you are and your ancestors. Always be truthful, don't lie, respect others and their property. Be a hard worker, don't be lazy. But, it's addressing also climate change because they are the originators of that. They are this respectful for the Mother Earth. And it's something big that we can all live by and incorporate into our own living. I think it's important.
I agree with Commissioner Herrera. I think the QR codes around significant locations in the city is a really great idea. I know that a lot of museums use that as sort of additional information in their exhibits. I have no idea how expensive it is to put something like that together, but I think also I'll just reference that in looking at the responses in our community engagement survey. Honoring and learning more about Indigenous communities was one of the, I think, most submitted topics. So I am really excited that the video is almost complete, very close to being complete, and I look forward to us being able to distribute that to schools in the area and maybe also sharing, across different community groups and hopefully also posting that on our page on our website. So thank you for pursuing it and being persistent, and really appreciate the effort.
Thank you. So just echoing what everyone said, and it was really amazing to kind of have that personal audience with both of those tribal leaders and to hear them speak so with so much passion and so much knowledge about a community that I've lived in for so many years, but really don't know much about. And so to be able to share that more widely with the residents of San Gabriel, as we are all saying, is really important. And so hopefully that will be reflected in our 2023 work plan to begin to put that information out there in even just simple ways. Anybody can create a QR code that takes you to a web page. We may not be able to do the whole audio and everything right now, but I would think that it would not be very financially taxing. The hard part will be doing the research and the history. That is the harder part of that task.
And on that note, it just reminds me to have the students be able to do the history on that, to do the research, right, to help out on this project, to learn about their own community.
Right. And working with our local tribal leaders to make sure that we get it right, which I think is going to be the most important.
Well, and I think part of our 2023 work plan, if we could think about maybe even having a fundraiser, either through the schools and start raising some funds in order to buy some of those things that we can start teaching people when they come into this city about this rich history that's here that we haven't even tapped into.
Commissioner Herrera.
I mean, there's just so much that we could do. I mean, we're just barely tapping into I think it's unfortunate and fortunate for us to have, that we're talking about this, and it's unfortunate that it's taking so long, right, to really tap into this history. But we have people that really care, that are fighting to expose all this history or to bring it out to the light. I mean, there's, like Commissioner Khan said, that we can have like a annual seminar where we can have the chiefs and the representatives come and talk about their story and come and dance and do stuff to that nature, right? Showcase. I'm sure they want to talk to us about their history, and I'm sure every single person in that tribe, not only the chief, has many stories that have been passed on by generation to generation. But we must do our part and make sure that we set it in stone, and it's not just passed on, because when it's passed on, it's going to get lost. So we have a huge task at hand. I mean, ultimately, I think when I step back, it will be nice when we get the school involved, that we have them not only look into the history, but then also somehow create a map, not only for the historic, just everything historic San Gabriel. This is where this started. This is where this started, and this is the actual ground map that you can technically walk. And then you have schools going out and having projects where you go and visit every single location. There's so much that we can do. I mean, I'm so excited. It's really fun. Good, good.
Excellent. So thank you again, Matthew. Thank you again to Victoria and Kristen. Tell them to look at the meeting tonight, because we did acknowledge them and we really appreciate them sticking with it. This was required a lot of finesse to get to this point, and so I'm just really proud of the city for what they were able to do. So thank you. So we will now move on to discussion item B, but keep all that discussion we just had concerning the video in mind for the following item, because it tends to lend itself to our 2023 work plan. But we're just going to spend a few moments on the discussion of our 2022 work plan, mostly because this is our last meeting for 2022. I'm just going to give you a quick rundown, just a little bit about our accomplishments from 2023. I was trying to think of some highlights in terms of, we were able to do a lot. And so our 2022 work plan had a number of different categories to it. We have them in our packet. But for those who don't have a packet, more equity training and inequities in city policies, community engagement, youth engagement, community information, accessibility, and partnerships. So just to kind of recap, in April of 2022, the city did implement an implicit bias training program for all of the city employees. A number of the commissioners also attended, and so that was not just because of our recommendation on the HERE Commission, but it was something that we also were recommending, and did come to pass. In terms of community engagement, obviously we had our mental wellness expo, which was incredible and successful. We've now displayed our Native American heritage video, so that is great. We had a number of really wonderful speakers this year, including representative from the mosque and ICNA Relief, from San Gabriel Special Needs Group. We had just recently the Family Focus, Foothill Family, and AYC was here. And I know I'm missing a number of them, but we've had a number of really great speakers. I'm sorry. Oh, LA County, yes, LA County, the Department of Mental Health. Youth engagement, I'm sure we'll spend just a couple of minutes on that, but we are still working on getting our application out for our youth ambassador. In terms of community information, I know that I have noticed an improvement in communication with our residents since our new public information officer, Clara Singh, has started. She's done a really incredible job with that. And for partnerships, we have certainly worked closely with community services staff, and hopefully we'll look at extending that partnership. Let's see, anything else that I wanted to highlight that we did, or does anyone else have any comments on our 2022 work plan, or things that you want to highlight from it?
We worked on the survey also, right?
Oh, yes, our engagement survey was very successful. We got a lot of good information that hopefully we'll be able to utilize for our 2022 work plan. The other thing I forgot to mention is that we did develop our land acknowledgement statement committee that is ongoing, and will hopefully be able to successfully develop a land acknowledgement statement for use by the city, and maybe even extending that to our schools and other platforms. So if there aren't any other specific highlights about 2022, we are now done with 2022 effectively, and we are moving on to our next agenda item, which would be to begin to discuss the development of our 2023 annual work plan. Matthew, do we have any public comments on this discussion item?
We do not, but just a note from our IT manager who's monitoring the meeting. Just a reminder for everyone to speak into the mic, so that way it's heard on the live stream as well. So if you can't hear yourself, most likely they're not hearing you loud and clear online.
And I find it's just in listening to each of us, if you even turn your head a little bit, you're lost. So just speak right on top of the mic, I guess. So for our 2023 work plan, we can leave this open, but what I would suggest is that we maybe just come up with a brief framework for tonight, and in January and probably February, we will be fleshing out those details. We can certainly keep the same categories that we have. I think we can change those categories up. Commissioner Brenha did send me some notes, and so I will start, or actually what I'll do is start with Commissioner Khan. Okay, no, we'll start with Vice Chair Goto, because I know that she has notes.
I'll volunteer. Well, I think it's been a great year. I think we've accomplished quite a lot. And I wanted to, in talking more about our 2023 work plan, to really take a look at our survey results, because we had a lot of great input from the community, which I think is the reason why we did it. So there were sort of 4 areas where there was a lot of convergence on opinions about including, as we already said, the Indigenous people recognition. I think another one, this one was probably the most mentioned, was around LGBTQ plus community support. There were some really great suggestions that were provided in the responses to the survey. And I think another area that was mentioned quite frequently was to consider a multicultural celebration. And the various suggestions were around food or music or dance, but an event that all cultures could come together. So I think that those were kind of the top 3 in terms of the sheer number of responses, but there were also quite a number of suggestions around disabled awareness and potentially sort of access for children to have playgrounds where it was accessible for all children. And I think there were also, there were tons of great ideas. There's no way we could possibly accomplish all of them in a year, but I think some of them also may have been more appropriate for community services. So I was happy to hear that they were also interested in the survey results, and I hope that some of the things that were mentioned around elders and gender equity and some of the suggestions around some of the activities might be taken on by our community services colleagues. But one thing that sort of came to my attention just this year was that there is a United Against Hate Week, which takes place, of course, in November. Everything has to be at the end of the year. But it's the 13th through the 19th, and it's an annual event. So I'd like for us to maybe think about how we might mark that occasion and maybe partner with another organization to do something during that time. So those were sort of my thoughts at the moment. I know that a number of people also mentioned that it would be great to have some way for community members just to get together and get to know each other. I think that's a little, well, obviously the city has many events where people can get together, but it's a little more difficult for people to get to know each other. So one of the things I wanted to throw out there was possibly thinking about a community service project, because those are, I think, an opportunity for people to work together towards a common goal and have a little more personal interaction. So those were just my preliminary thoughts.
Thank you, Vice Chair Goto. Anyone else?
So I really like the multi-cultural thing that we can have. I don't know, maybe even small little parade. That would be awesome. And then some vendors trying different food around the world or however we want to call it. I think that's a good way to have the community come out and showcase where they're from and be proud of their culture. And promoting inclusivity. That's what we stand for at this commission, right? Another thing, for the natives, I think I would like to take a deeper dive, right? Seeing what we can do, an activity with them, like Commissioner Khan was saying, and just really just taking a deeper dive and taking this to the next level and seeing how we can work with them and even having another video possibly with them, so that we can showcase different stories from their community and the tribes. Other than that, I would like to see an emphasis also on if we can create something for the seniors. It was mentioned before with one of the organizations that came that they provide the programs. One of the biggest things that I find that's really important is to protect our seniors as far as there's a lot of fraud going on, a lot of calls that are being made to these seniors that are like are probably lonely and they want to talk to somebody, and then you get these calls from I heard it's Jamaica and another place where they're really good, they're really good as far as talking to people, and then they end up taking away all their money, and now you find them in a really bad situation. I happened to walk into a seminar that Arcadia was hosting this weekend, and it was at the library. And I thought that was really interesting that they had it there. I think we should have something like that. We do have the resources, and we know now who can provide those services. So if we can provide that at least one, something similar as far as educating our seniors, and I mean, it will have to be a big effort because on the communication effort, because a lot of them don't even have access to the computer or to what we have, right? They're just probably, for lack of better words, cooped up in their house, and they're just waiting for somebody to come and talk to them. So we have to figure out how to identify the seniors and let them know, hey, we have something for you, but that's a bigger effort, and I would like to see how we can collaborate on that, if possible.
Thank you, Commissioner Herrera. Commissioner Khan?
There are a lot of things popping up, and we can do a lot of things too. We can develop, as we go along, we can develop a few other programs, like if we're talking about senior citizens. The city already works with the senior citizens, right?
Correct. So we have a variety of, now I'm having to remind myself to speak in the microphone. We do have a variety of programs. The Community Services Commission has already requested that we do something additional with seniors, and particularly fraud. So that's already on our department's radar. It's just a matter of finding the right time and then advertising in advance. Seminars typically don't do all that well as far as turnout. They also mentioned combining the health fair with a similar format like we did for the grand reopening. So that could be a larger opportunity where we could add in seminars where there's already a captive audience compared to kind of a standalone seminar. So all of those are in the works, and our staff are working to find ways to make that happen.
And is it working? Is it being worked through a different committee?
So it's just the Community Services Department that spearheads it, and then with additional guidance or direction from the Community Services Commission.
Okay. So I think that'll be wonderful if what Commissioner Herrera suggests, that we can incorporate this into what you're doing. That'll be great too. So.
Matthew, I have a question. We still have the meals for the senior citizens at the rec center?
We do. We have our Tuesday meal frozen fresh meal distribution to 145 seniors. And then we have our Monday, Tuesday, Thursday hot meal program to about 45 seniors. And then we have our special luncheons approximately about once a month.
Okay, you say about 45?
Correct.
Because that's another opportunity to talk to people is when they come to those areas for their lunches, to talk to them. Because I know working at the police department, I see a lot of people coming in that are being scammed, either on the phone or even on their computers, and they're not real computer savvy. And all of a sudden, they're talking to somebody and they're sending money, and they're coming in crying, saying, I need to get my money back. I mean, I had a woman that lost over $300,000. And because they just kept on her. And once they grab them, they just keep going back and wanting more, and they threaten them. So working in that area where they're getting their lunches, you kind of have a captive audience right there.
Right.
And it's 2 or 3 days a week, so there's an opportunity there to reach out to those people. And I know that I'm sure that some of the police officers that handle a lot of that fraud would be happy to come and speak to them and give them information, because we do have brochures in the police department to hand out. So I'm speaking on behalf of them, but I'm sure that they would be happy to come out and give a presentation. And the other thing that, of course, that I feel passionate about now is the Native American heritage. I think we really need to take a hold of that and run with it. We have a great opportunity here, and let's do it.
Commissioner Borja?
Yes, mine's always going to center around youth because I work with youth, but, you know, still getting them more involved, getting them involved in the city, maybe through getting them involved in the city through internships, and as we mentioned with the Native American history as well, having them doing the research and even maybe the mapping, things like that. So continue to get the youth involved.
Well, and so this is specifically on this area is following up on our youth ambassador application that I know has kind of been stalled because we had a new city attorney and things just, that wasn't necessarily high on the list of priorities for them to review. But I would like to provide a deadline because it's been over a year at this point, and Commissioner Borja and Commissioner Godo, or Vice Chair Godo, went to the, put together an application and provided that to the city attorney, or we are providing it to them. So I don't think it is unreasonable for us to ask for them to have that reviewed, by February, so that we can hopefully get that into the school district and identify youth ambassadors who can help us along the lines of what we would like to do in terms of our Native American history or whatever other things we would like to partner with the school districts and local schools for. So just a couple of notes that I took as people were speaking, and then just providing my own input. I would like to see the city commit to our to implicit bias or some type of equity training at least every other year. I would like to see it every year, but working with Edward Macias, who is the Human Resources Director, to come up not necessarily with the exact same training program every other year, but to vary it so that there are different ways of looking at implicit bias and education around that, especially for city employees who are here, year after year. They don't want to go to the same training session every year, but I would like for us to make the recommendation that that continues and was not just a one-off. In terms of community engagement, I think we are all very much in agreement that we would like to see the city, if they're going to spend $30,000 to $40,000 in sponsoring a community event, that one of those events celebrates multiculturalism and also LGBTQ, celebrate that portion as well, but just that we celebrate many different, celebrate all the diversity of San Gabriel in many different ways. And my understanding is that there used to be a San Gabriel birthday celebration that took place April 24th, and it celebrated the incorporation of San Gabriel, which was in 1913. April is not a very busy month, I think, in terms of community services, depending on when Easter happens. But that might be a date that lends itself to celebrating San Gabriel, all of its diversity, would just lend itself to that type of celebration in that time. So I think we'll recommend in our 2023 work plan that in addition to our mental wellness expo, that we would also like to be a part of developing a multicultural celebration for our city. Youth engagement we spoke about. For community information, that's where I would see our focus on educating our seniors about fraud and cybersecurity. The library, I think, lends itself to some of that education because computers are available in the library. So for those seniors who don't have access to a computer, coming to the library will provide them with that. Now, I guess you say if you don't have access to a computer, do you really need to know about, cybersecurity? But there is a big push right now. The city actually has something through Parks or through the Community Services Department to educate seniors on just kind of basic computer and technology skills and to take some of that mystery out of it. So, but the library, I think, is the reason why it is often held there. LA County Library, I know, has a program almost every month on cybersecurity specifically for seniors at various libraries. I see it in Compton often when I look on the LA County Library website. So that there are lots of people doing this out there, and so you don't have to reinvent the wheel, Matthew, in terms of that. But that, I think, lends itself again to our 2023 work plan under community information.
Can I add something for community information? That was mentioned in our survey a number of times as well for people they were interested in getting more involved and learning more about what the commission does. And I know that it was on our agenda for this year to get more information on our webpage on the city site. But obviously it was a very busy year, but I'd like to pick that up hopefully early next year, because I think now we have some content that we can that we can include that's on our homepage on the city's website. And we can post our events, we can post our guest speakers, links to their presentation, our resources, and hopefully a photo gallery in our video. I think that making that page more robust is definitely a high priority for early in the year next year.
Excellent. And then under accessibility, Vice Chair Goto mentioned possibly including a recommendation to increase accessibility for children who have various needs on our playgrounds, so that those playgrounds become more accessible for everyone. And under partnerships, I hear a lot of projects that lend itself to working with community services. And so I would love to see a partnership or a strong partnership with community services to implement some of our recommendations and to continue our partnership with the Historical Preservation Commission, specifically in the area of our land acknowledgement statement. So hopefully completing that in 2023. And then before I end, I do want to just give you Commissioner Brenhaut's recommendations for a work plan. So she kind of went down each item. So for item 1, she also recommended that we continue to provide some type of equity training. For item 2, that we should continue this item with the Mental Wellness Expo, as well as including some type of LGBTQ plus component to our community engagement. She mentions the indigenous community and making sure that we complete the implementation of the land acknowledgement statement. Item 3, what is item 3? Oh, I would really like to see this happen this year, as we all would. So she is stressing that as well. Item 4, under community information, just continuing to work in this area, I think, as Vice Chair Godo just outlined. Item 5, accessibility, she didn't have any extra input on that, but did want to see that, that heading maintained. Item 6, just stronger partnerships, and then item 7, oh, and I forgot item 7, and that we should continue with this item as well. And item 7 is another thing that we didn't quite get to in terms of 2022, with having our police department come in and give us information on kind of their processes and procedures and those traffic stops that they are now collecting data on. I quite just personally think that this is going to be really important for the HERE Commission to be a part of any new search or identification for a new chief, since we will be searching for one soon, because Chief Harris is going to be moving also on to bigger and better, much bigger, much bigger. And so I think it's going to be really important that the person who takes on that position is equally as open to having difficult conversations, to identifying areas for improvement, and recognizing that there is, a place for improvement with our law enforcement agents. So getting that data collection is going to be important for 2023 as well. So that's my input, and any other input. This is going to be, I think, our skeleton to work on more completely in our meeting in January and February if needed. But does our staff have any questions or clarification?
Just one note, if there's any items that we can get to you as a commission before the January meeting, we definitely will. So in that way, it's something that won't have to be included on your 2023, and then it'll allow you to focus on the other items that you're adding on. So, for example, the traffic stops, if that's something that we can work with PD for, I know that they were having difficulties navigating that new system. They were having no issues inputting the information. It was kind of getting all of that data out in a clear and concise way. So I'll follow up with them, and maybe that's all figured out now and is ready to present at the January meeting. So smaller items like that potentially would be ready. But we would definitely will present you the draft work plan, and then you can scratch out or add in January. And then if it's ready to go at the January meeting, then we can present it at the first city council meeting in February. But there's no rush, but that's kind of what the timeline would look like.
Is there any other input, or?
If I may, just wanted to touch on 2 more points and stress, the youth involvement. As far as trying to get them to actually attend, I mean, I don't know if they can get some extra points to attend, and it would be nice to pack the house. I know that, they're underage, and there's many factors that can get in the way, but if we can extend, an invitation and offer them, the volunteer hours, just so they could sit in one of our meetings, and for that meeting, we can tailor it where they can come up and speak or present, depending on where we're at on the project. If they work on a historic something, they can speak up on research that they did historically, right? Or have some kind of contest. And that could tie up to my next point as far as providing some kind of, I know the community service, I think I've seen them providing some kind of awards, and to see our commission provide awards depending on how we want to tailor that, right? And what aspect of our commission, are as long as we're hitting those points, right? Human equity, access, and inclusion. Maybe we want to identify one area or a couple where we can provide some kind of awards. I think that will bring really a sense of community and a sense of pride for people to know about what we're doing, and having them feel happy that we're acknowledging them.
I could also say, I think involving the youth in that way is a really good idea, Commissioner Herrera, and maybe one way of getting them more interested in our meetings is, I'm sure that there are a number of DEI school groups at the our group, student-led groups at the high school that lend themselves to DEI issues. So I think there may be a LGBTQ group at the high school. I think there are a number of affinity groups maybe at the high school, I'm not sure. But if they wanted to come in and present the work that they're doing at their high schools, that might be a way to encourage them to bring some friends to a meeting because they're going to present. So maybe we'll have a youth presentation day. And that would be a way to get them involved. So I like that suggestion. Thank you. The other thing I will throw in, and I hope it is appropriate, but I don't know if Commissioner Borja Fitzsimmons realized that our tenure is supposed to be up on January 31st. So we may have a new complement of people here going forward in February. We may not, but hopefully whatever work plan we're able to establish in January, we will vote on maybe, but if not, you may have some additional input in February from some new commissioners. So if there aren't any other clarifications for where we're going to start with our 2023 work plan, then we will move to our next agenda item, which is commissioner reports. Each commissioner may address the HERE Commission and public on matters of general information and/or concern. This is also the time for commissioners to report on conferences and/or meetings that they have attended. So I'll just start on the end with Commissioner Borja.
I give time for Sue.
Thank you. I have nothing to report.
Commissioner Khan.
I don't have anything to report, but I do have a comment, but I think we can catch up after this. Go ahead. I want to go back, so if we finish up this round of any meetings, then we can go back to just the community services program and so on. So I just had a comment.
Well, so is this about our last agenda item?
About the agenda for, about the program for 2023.
So I would say we are either no longer on that agenda item or we are going back. So if you have any comments on it, make it now.
Oh, make it now. Hey, I'll be happy to. So there are two things I've noticed. Just one is the community services work already with the community. So the programs we're putting together would be a sort of good combination. And having Commissioner Bora on the commission with us is a blessing because she's got access to the children, to the school, and while we're talking about bringing the students together, one of the things we could do is continuing with the Indian tribes that we said there was so much controversy about in the higher up the chiefs. But I'm sure there isn't, or there is very little controversy among the families and the children that they have. I mean, they could be from Los Angeles, they could be from here. We could, while in the research, we could probably bring them together, and I'm sure there may be children who are already going to the school district here in San Gabriel. So we can bring them together and include them in the next year's plan. While we're celebrating, so I'm basically referring to celebrating the Heritage Month, which could very well last for a day or two, in fact. If we put out an elaborate program, we can have high school students involved, the families involved, and sort of make it an elaborate teaching program type of.
So we'll add that to our work plan and discuss it more. I'm sure that Matthew is hearing that word elaborate and cringing a little bit. So, we might have to start out smaller if we can do our multicultural event and really make our Native American residents and, group or that identity a very prominent feature of it. That may be a good place to start, including those students and the high schools and all those things. But we will put it down because we have to think big, as George told us last year. So,
All right, with that said, I'm gonna continue, can I continue with my commissioner comments? Um, so I only have one update or, update or comment or report, right? And I had the distinguished pleasure of awarding, our chair, Jenny Nunez, with a medal at the Turkey, Trot, right? She completed Power Walk, if I may, with another commissioner. But that's all. I mean, the community came out. Matthew, of course, was running around doing his thing, and I saw a lot of volunteers, youth volunteers, and the energy was perfect. It was cold. I would say maybe some hot chocolate next year, but I mean, maybe throw in some marshmallows. I'll bring some. But anyways, it was really cold. 6 in the morning start, and for a lot of the staff, they were there even earlier. It was great to see the community come out, and then all the fun and play that we had that day. I have a video coming up. Stay tuned. It's more like Ting has a video, so stay tuned. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Herrera. Vice Chair Goto?
I attended the San Gabriel Valley Roundtable on Anti-Asian Hate that was co-hosted by Assemblymember Mike Fong and Attorney General Rob Bonta earlier this month. And it featured a really impressive group of leaders from from community organizations, advocacy groups. Our own Police Chief Harris was on the panel, and a university professor. And the discussion was divided into 3 sections: reporting and tracking, community resources, and education and civic engagement. And there was quite a lot of information that was shared, but some of the key points that I think are relevant to us here was that there was a 32% rise in hate crimes in the state last year and 177% increase among the API community. And those numbers are probably not truly reflective because of underreporting. And the AAPI Equity Alliance, which is a coalition of organizations, is examining why the community does not report incidents. And they will be releasing their survey data next year. So this is very important because the data is needed in order to obtain resources to address the issue. And so I think that's, also speaks to our efforts for data collection. If you can't make the case, then resources will not be available. A couple other items that directly related to the HERE Commission's goals are that the Asian Americans Advancing Justice organization is continuing to provide 1-hour virtual bystander training in multiple languages, and the next session is upcoming on December 14th. And lastly, Chinatown Service Center called out the need for cultural competency training for law enforcement, since the API community often fears them and has language barriers. They also highlighted the need for more culturally competent therapists to address depression and mental distress that are often consequences of hate incidents. So it was really inspiring to see all of the partner organizations coming together to collaborate and multiply their efforts, and I think there's a lot of potential for us to partner with some of these organizations. And for any educators out there, I wanted to share that the Japanese American National Museum is offering a free program on Saturday, January 21st, 2023. It's called Bringing an American Vocabulary, Words to Action into the Classroom. And it's a collaborative project to learn strategies for bringing Asian American, Native Hawaiian, and Pacific Islander experiences into the classroom. It consists of 21 multilingual flashcards that illustrate 4 themes of ancestor, voice, persistence, and care through the portrayal of AANHPI figures, events, actions, and values. In the workshop, participants will all receive a set of the cards for use in their classroom. It's free, but space is limited, so advanced registration is required, and I imagine will go quickly. So you can go to the janum.org website to sign up if you're interested. And lastly, in honor of Native American Heritage Month, I invite everyone to participate in the Lakota People's Law Project virtual WOPIA gathering. a live stream celebration to honor, inspire, and activate, which will be held on Giving Tuesday, which is November 29th, after Thanksgiving, beginning at 4 p.m. Pacific time. They're going to be discussing 3 topic areas: water is life, Indian children welfare, and the native vote. And you can find a short video preview at lakota.law.org/Wopila, WOPILA. That's it for me. Thanks.
Thank you, Vice Chair Goto. So, I'm sorry, I'm just trying to gather my thoughts. So, as George said, the turkey trot, this was my first year doing the turkey trot, so I really applaud community services. Again, it was an incredible event. So if you haven't been and you want to wake up really early on a Saturday morning next year around Thanksgiving, it's a lot of fun, even if you are, not inclined physically to, or not athletic. You can still come out and do the turkey trot. There are various levels of athleticism that are required. Happy Thanksgiving. If we, if they don't say that at the end, happy Thanksgiving. That is coming up in just a couple days. So a really great time to celebrate with family. I also want to acknowledge Public Works. We were mentioning as we came in that Public Works managed to put up some beautiful lighting sometime in the last 24 hours and has made our Mission District ready for the holiday season. So if you have not been through the Mission District, come on through at night. In terms of just rounding out Native American Heritage Month, on December 3rd, so that is, I think, a couple of Saturdays from now, at Grand Park downtown, they are going to have the first Los Angeles Powwow event. It is sponsored by the, I want to get it right, the United, I'm sorry, let me make sure I get it correct. The United American Indian Involvement Incorporated, our organization, and Hilda Solis's office. So it is going to be a large powwow, which for those of you who may not be familiar with what a powwow is a gathering that's held by many Native American and First Nation communities that celebrate their culture through dance, singing, their regalia, just socializing. So it is an incredible event to go and observe. You can go to the website is for more information, I'm sorry, LAPOWWOW, so LA Powwow at UAII.org. If you want more information about the event on December 3rd, it also has kind of an FAQ or frequently asked questions, because there is some kind of rules of engagement, I guess, around it to be respectful of the event. So if you would like to participate in that as Native American Heritage Month ends, that would be great. We do have our December 6th tree lighting, so come out and experience that. As Vice Chair Goto just mentioned, hate crimes are up. We just had another shooting in Colorado Springs that affected our LGBTQ community that seems to constantly be under attack as well. So my challenge for myself and for the new year is, we know that if you have personal connections with people that may be different from you, it helps to reshape your biases and how you look at the world. And so I would challenge each of us and say, when we come back in January, maybe we can share how we went out and experienced something that might be new for us. We went to an Ethiopian restaurant, and now we have appreciation for Ethiopian food. We, invited our gay cousin to lunch, and that's somebody that we haven't really hung out with before. We, asked a disabled colleague or to sit down and have, coffee, or just something that takes us out of our comfort zone maybe a little bit and invites us to celebrate the diversity that is all around us and that we don't always appreciate. So that's my New Year's resolution, my New Year's challenge to everyone. And other than that, I think I'm done. Any other comments? Okay. Staff comments. So staff members have the opportunity to address the commission and public on matters of general information and/or concerns. Matthew or Adrian, do you have any comments?
We do not.
Thank you. Adrian? Good. So the next, so we're at adjournment. The next regular HERE Commission meeting will be held on Tuesday, January 24th, 2022 at 6:30 p.m. I'm sorry. Oh, yes, I'm just reading it off the paper now. Yes, January 24th, 2023. We are not going back in time. At 6:30 p.m., information regarding matters to be considered at each meeting will be available on the Friday before the HERE Commission meeting on the city's website at www.sangabrielcity.com. This regular meeting is now adjourned at 8:12 p.m.